Hello, my name's Josh,
I'm Justin.
and today's August 23rd, Monday, August 23rd, 2021. And if you are in the stock market, it has absolutely ripped today. Everything is up. And by I mean everything. The past few weeks, we have just seen these FANG stocks carry the whole market up. We've just been trekking along. Only the FANG stocks carrying it. Today, the entire market came together and went up, which I really like to see. That shows strength, but it could provide some challenges ahead because the belly of the market, I'm saying the broader market, the vast majority of the stocks are in a downtrend right now. Is this the start of a new trend where we are going to see the rest of the market start to perform well and then we'll continue upwards? Or is this just the following the trend down? Is this just a dead cat bounce up following it down? And that is what we'll have to see in the coming weeks. What I'll really be looking for is how when I say broad market, I'm talking about the belly, the full thick meat of the market, how that does. Personally, my views right now, I would say, just from a probability side, I think that the belly of the market is going to probably perform pretty well for the next few weeks. But that brings us to two challenges. One, are we going to see a blow off top here? Are we going to see this 1999 up 10% in the next 2-3 weeks type of move that is just an explosion up? If so, I would be very aggressive selling going into that. Or are we going to see these FANG stocks cool off, the rest of the market pick back up with it, and then we just continue this slow trek higher? Maybe even the stock market just going up, maybe even just staying sideways, but the rest of the market performing. We really need to see strength in the real market. There's a lot of difficulties right now with deflationary pressures as lockdowns are building, and other, just like if you've seen the M2 money supply chart, it's gone up, then straight down. We have a lot of deflationary pressures right now, but that is being looked at as, oh, deflationary pressures, that means more stimulus. More stimulus means a higher stock market. Everything, when we're in a bull market, all news is bullish, and that's how I'm looking at it right now.
Gotcha. Josh, a few other things to add to that. I did not follow the market as closely as you did today, but I did get a few alerts on my phone. Crypto did very well today. I think Bitcoin reached finally 50,000 again. Mm-hmm. So just kind of another wink and a nod to that. Several things that came to mind. I think back to a video that Lacey Hunt did earlier this year. In fact, I think even you sent it to me. But he outlined the mechanism that when you have liquidity trapped in the financial system inflates asset prices. And I just kind of wonder, what's going on there. I also wonder if there's, let's say, a quasi tie-in to Tether and Bitcoin, but let's just leave that to the side for right now. So let me ask a follow-up question then. If the markets come roaring back, do you know off the top of your head what the 10-year did today?
It's 10-year stable.
Stable.
Like that. No drastic moves. Something that I'm also really watching, and I've actually gotten a few hedges, is the dollar is right at the pivotal point of its. As we know, we've been in a multi-year consolidation between around 93 on the Dixie and 89. We are at that extreme upper bound of that 93. And if it breaks above that, who knows? We could see that Brent Johnson liquidity squeeze into the dollar upwards. In case of that, I'm telling you, everybody's a dollar bear. You can see this because the market's pricing it. I got a few months out call options on the Dixie I got 5 call options for $30. That was like 6 cents a contract. 6 cents a contract for the Dixie. That is extraordinarily cheap. And that is, I'm fine. I lose $30, but if Brent Johnson's theory plays out, we're going to see a potential explosion upwards.
The juice is worth this. Pardon me. The juice is worth the squeeze for that front.
Mm-hmm. Especially when the call options are this cheap. They're priced as if this is a volatility of nothing. And I don't know. I really like the asymmetry there.
No, I hear you. I hear you. That's generally the easiest way, or the most lucrative ways, is that when everyone assumes something to be the case, that generally means that you want to run, do not walk away from whatever that thing is. So,
all right. So this is everyone has seen this chart before. We see the classic mania bull market, and we know we're in a mania right now. But what phase of the mania are we in? The stock market has continued to go straight up. Everything's gone up for the past 18 months or whatever, like since 2020. And where are we? Is the broad market in a bull trap right now and we're going to continue downwards, or is the market going to continue higher? And that is something that I will be watching very carefully. I will be making a lot of moves. Let's say this is a bull trap, and over the next week or two, the belly of the market continues down. Let's say right now I have a $35,000 exposure to the market. I'll probably cut that back to $25,000 exposure.
Just a quick follow-up, and that's to say that you will sit in cash or sit in something else.
I'll sit in cash. There's times to buy volatility. I will potentially put some in there, but I will do it slowly. All right. It's not like volatility bleeds out for a long time until it doesn't. And I'm fine sitting in cash. I don't necessarily want to bleed out for a while.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, but that is only like right now, my base case is that, let's say, if you're looking at the market, everybody is bearish. I just wrote an article saying that I truly think it might be contrarian to be long the stock market right now. Everybody is calling for a top. If you go on Twitter, people are bringing every single chart possible, saying this was the last time the market topped on this date 12 years ago because it was a full moon, and the elites love that. And
they do.
Or whatever. And any excuse someone can find, they're calling for a market top. And maybe if this is the market top, I would not be surprised at all. We're at extreme high valuations. But I would argue that the market will most likely crash when everybody is long. If the market is made to hurt the maximum amount of people, I don't think it's happened yet.
I think the best way I've heard that phrase said, which I've heard before, is that the market is a great humiliator. It will do whatever it can to humiliate the most amount of people.
Yes, exactly.
And yeah, that is, I think,
I think this chart. So I think greed is high, but there's more fear than greed. And if we're going to see a blow off top, we are not there yet. This is not a blow off top type of market. It would be more of a drizzle bear market, probably followed by some extreme fear going down. That being said, this could be like the Bitcoin chart. All right. What happened when Bitcoin was at 60,000? Could you see anyone saying that Bitcoin is the world? Bitcoin solves all problems.
True, but in defense of the Bitcoiners, which I'm not one of, but just to give a voice to the other side, imagine us having this conversation. Josh, could you see Bitcoin? Remember when Bitcoin got to 100 and then it fell back down to whatever? Josh, remember when Bitcoin got to 1,000?
Yeah.
10,000.
Okay.
30,000.
I'm not
60,000.
Yes. I agree with that. I completely do. And I think long term, I love Bitcoin, but that does not change the fact that it is a mania. And what happened? It was at 100. We had a 60% correction. All right. Maybe some people are fine holding through that volatility, but if you are a trader, taking a 60% drawdown will crush you. All right. It will. And I'm not in the game trying to hold through a 60% drawdown. My real question is, what happens is Bitcoin going to smack through 60,000 and create new all-time highs, or is this just a dead cat bounce and this was a bull trap? I don't know. And I have a no position in all cryptos, but it's a hell of a trade for anyone that made it from 60,000 to 50,000. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And you have to respect a good trade. I mean, these Bitcoiners have made the greatest trade of all time. It is up thousands and thousands and thousands of percent. So who's me to say that they're wrong? And I agree with the Bitcoiners, but that does not mean that the price will continue in their favor.
True. From like a big picture standpoint, I find it very interesting that people want to get into Bitcoin because they want to get out of the dollar, or they don't trust the dollar, or they have their concerns. Pick your poison. But I also find it very interesting that the very same people who are trying to get out of the dollar and into Bitcoin measure the success of their thesis by reconciling it back to dollars, which strikes me as kind of like a fat person at McDonald's ordering a Diet Coke thinking they're on a diet. I mean, they're just mentally, there's something that's there.
Yeah, if you think Bitcoin's going to be global money, and if you think that in the future everything will be denominated in Bitcoin, you shouldn't even look at the price, because that means...
Oh, it gets even worse, but it's even worse. If that is truly what you believe in your heart of hearts, you should be ecstatic to see the price go down, because it means you can acquire more, particularly if you believe that dollars are bad.
Also, though, if you think that that is the case, you have to understand that that is just a probability. There is no certainties. And let's say you think that Bitcoin will be global money and everything will be denominated in Bitcoin. That does not mean it will happen. And you can believe it and you can feel it, but that you have to assess probabilities to everything. And let's say Bitcoin is great, but what if a new cryptocurrency comes out and is better than Bitcoin? Are you going to be the boomers, like the gold bugs right now, saying, no, gold has been a store of value for 5,000 years? What happens when something's taken over and Bitcoiners saying Bitcoin has been a store of value for the past 10 years? It won't give up now.
So I think one thing to consider on that is the concept. So I first heard about this myself from the tech companies. In case anyone watching this is, trying to find me on Facebook or Twitter, I don't do any of that bullshit. No social media.
Just shouting it out. So I'm just kidding.
Anyways, so one of the arguments that they mention is that you have this thing called the network effect. And so one of the quips is that, well, if you don't like Twitter, if you don't like Facebook, if you don't like the dollar, just start your own social media platform. And I guess technically that's correct, but you get into this implied de facto monopoly where you have an entrenched incumbent that's just so big, everyone uses it. And there is a value from the fact that everyone uses it that can't necessarily be expressed with a tangible target or with a tangible reference.
Exactly. And these Bitcoiners love to talk about the network effect of Bitcoin, but the network effect of the dollar, of the euro, of the yen is thousands, if not millions of times more prudent than Bitcoin.
When I think of Bitcoin, that's a toughie, Josh. Like here's my problem when I run through it in my mind. I look at the limited amount of facts that I have, then I think through it. And with both the facts that I have, I can see two general outcomes. But of those two general outcomes, the only thing that I do know is that they both can't be true, which means that one has to be true and the other has to be false. But I don't know which one is which because the data I have right now supports both. If you've ever seen the cat in the box, Schrodinger's cat, it's kind of the same problem that you have, where you have this box with a cat in it and a device that
what are the two theories?
Oh, so the two theories is that either Bitcoin is a Judas goat, in other words, started by the bad guys to basically create a false flag operation and disillusion people so much from trying to go outside the system that they never think to go again, or they flee back to safety. That would be the first thing. The second thing is that it's very true to its it's true to its principles. This is a way to get outside the system and to have something else out there. I don't know what I don't know how to pull those two things apart. Those are the two big ones. And then the other thing that you have is, forget those two scenarios. The other question that I try to bring back to is what happens when you have a state actor with unconstrained state level resources that wants to go after it. We've talked about this before. We don't need to go down that again, but I just think about that too. So I guess what it comes down to is this: all else being equal, I do think so far Bitcoin's done more good than bad. If for no other reason, it's woken up an entire generation or multiple generations of people to some of the flaws in the monetary system. There's a presentation you and I are working on right now. One of the big themes is that we are colorblind, but we need to be able to see color in order to differentiate between things, lest they all look the same. I think Bitcoin does a really good job of prepping people so that they can understand these nuances of the monetary system. So on that front, I see it as a huge win, and a win is a win, so you take it.
Bitcoin has raised more libertarians than any other organization.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing I would say is, and I say this as a quip, not necessarily as some great philosophical insight. It's actually, I got this from my brother. It boils down to this. The early bird gets the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. And I don't know the long-term ramifications of Bitcoin in this, but even if Bitcoin is superseded by something else, who cares? As long as enough people still transact and still believe in Bitcoin, gold has been superseded. But ever since Bretton Woods, let's say the 60s, 70s, and then only in the early 70s did it officially go off. Well, I know that Snyder, I think, would make the argument, no, it happened way, way, way before that. The key is that you had the old granddaddy with a new thing coming online, but people still paid homage to the old granddaddy. And I think that the same thing can be true of Bitcoin. And this is one of the other problems. Again, we don't need to get too much into this, but you have this or that mentality. A good way to see it is you have the you have the precious metal folks and you have the crypto folks. And they
that makes sense.
Entirely. It's like, no,
you guys are both fighting for the same cause.
Yeah, you're on the same team here, right? And so it's one of these things of nuance.
And I think everybody should own. There's one common theme about every extraordinarily smart investor or hedge fund manager. They all own physical gold. You don't own physical gold to get rich. You own it to preserve your purchasing power, and that is insurance. It is necessary. And I'm saying that as someone who does not own gold because I'm not rich, and so if anything, if I think gold's going to be in a bull market, I would leverage through gold miners, which I think would have much more asymmetry. But if you are a wealthy individual, owning gold is I think the most vital thing that you can do.
A hat tip too. I don't know, Josh, if you've read them. Jim Rickards wrote 4 books or 4.5 books.
I've only read his New Great Depression.
Okay, gotcha. One of the books, I need to even know the list. I can't remember which one, but he was in Europe talking to some old European dynastic family sitting next to some, I'm sure, hot young thing, where he asks her, what's the secret? You guys have held into your world, I know, a millennia. How'd you do it? At which point the woman smiled and said, a third and a third and a third. And Rickards, who's no fool, was stumped. I'm sorry, I just don't know what this means. But he said, at which point he was told that, well, a third you put into gold, a third you put into real estate, and a third you put into artwork, pictures, something that's rare, that holds value. And I thought very, perhaps maybe NFTs would be the new version of that. Then, buy Rembrandts, buy statues. I mean, whatever. The point is, they're not making more Rembrandts. They're not making more fine arts or pieces of fine art, at least from the past. Mm-hmm. So if you just need a place to park value, well, there you go. And I thought that was pretty insightful. Now, that being said, I don't think I or you have that problem, at least not yet. And if we do have that problem, well, you can cross that bridge when you get there.
Yeah.
But I do find
probably after the gig yacht.
After the gig, well, you buy the art to put on the gig yacht. So that's the secret there. And of course, we still need XRP to hit 2,000. But
well, you need XRP to hit 2,000. I'm a no crypto holder right now. Actually, is a lie. I'm yield farming right now with some of Justin's XRP. All right. Well, we probably rambled on for too long about nothing, and I'll see you all later.
Yeah,
all
guys,
4
of you. For joining us. 4 of us, yeah. Tell your friends, or better yet, tell your enemies, make them suffer. Until next time. Okay.